The space station buzzed with noise traders shouting, aliens haggling, and machines clanking. Jace, a human trader with a tired jacket and sharp eyes, walked through the busy market. He just wanted to sell some spare engine parts, nothing more. Today wasn't going to be a normal day. An old alien with cracked horns and gold rings around his arms waved Jace over. His small ship had broken down. He needed a new stabilizer coil fast. Jace checked his bag. "I have one left. It's not cheap." "I have no credits," the alien growled. "But I'll pay another way." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Like how?" The alien whistled, and a weak figure was pushed forward. A girl, young, thin, dirty. Her clothes were torn. Her hands were bound. "Take her," the alien said. "She's a slave, barely eats. Useless to me now." Other aliens in the market laughed. "Lucky human." One shouted, "Bet she lasts one day before she collapses." Another sneered. Jace looked at her. She didn't look at him. Her silver hair hung over her face. Her feet were bruised, and she was shaking. She seemed broken. Jace wasn't sure what to do. "I don't trade people," he said quietly. The alien leaned in. "Them leave with nothing," Jace sighed. He didn't want trouble. And he hated walking away from a deal. Maybe he could help her somehow later. "Fine," he said, grabbing the stabilizer coil and nodding toward the girl. "She comes with me." The alien grinned, then shoved the girl forward. She fell to her knees but didn't cry out. Back on his ship, the Rustwing, Jace gave her a blanket and a protein bar. She didn't move. "You have a name?" he asked. Silence. He sighed and started up the ship. He would drop her off at the next safe colony. Maybe someone there could help her. She finally looked at him. Her eyes were strange, sharp, glowing faintly blue. Not dead. Not scared, but proud. "You've made a mistake, human," she said softly. Jace blinked. "Excuse me?" But she said nothing more. As the ship drifted into deep space, Jace kept glancing back at her. She sat quietly, back straight, eyes watching everything. Not like a slave. Not like someone broken. He thought about what she said. "You've made a mistake." Was she dangerous? A spy? Or just someone who still had fight left in her? He checked her wrist. There was a mark burned into her skin, like a symbol. Strange. He didn't recognize it. Jace had picked up many passengers in his years, smugglers, drifters, even criminals running from bounty hunters, but none of them ever sat so still, so silent, and so proud. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She didn't even thank him. Instead, she sat cross-legged in the corner of the cargo bay, like she was meditating, like she owned the stars themselves. 3 days had passed since he took her from that alien trader. Jace finally spoke again. "You don't eat much. You're wasting away." The girl glanced at the food tray beside her. "This is not food," she said calmly. "It's processed waste," Jace chuckled. "Welcome to budget travel, princess." She looked up at him, her expression cold. "Do not call me that." "Why not? You act like one." She didn't answer, just turned her head and stared at the stars through the small round window. Jace caught her again sneaking around the ship, not stealing, not escaping. Studying. She was reading old flight logs, maps, military records. "What are you looking for?" he asked, standing in the doorway. "History," she replied. "Why?" "Because you humans lie." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me? You think your people discovered warp travel first? That your empires built peace? That you're the reason the galaxy still spins?" She stepped closer. "You're wrong." Jace didn't know what to say. He had never seen a slave girl speak like that, like she was teaching him. The next day, he unlocked her hands. "You're not going to stab me, are you?" he asked, half joking. "If I wanted to kill you," she said without emotion, "you'd already be dead." He stared at her. She didn't laugh. She meant it. Jace watched as she walked around the ship freely, now light on her feet. Back straight, eyes always alert. She didn't walk like a slave. She walked like a soldier, he found. Her training in the engine room, hands moving in strange patterns, body twisting through empty air. What is that? He asked. Combat form, ancient style, she replied. Taught to heirs of the Varelian bloodline, he frowned. Varelian? That old royal family? They were never wiped out, she said without looking at him. The galaxy only thought. They were. Jace went cold. Wait, he said slowly. You mean? She looked at him directly. I was born to command fleets, she said, not to serve in chains. Still, she refused to tell him her full name. Names have power, she said, and mine still makes people afraid. Jace wasn't sure if she was crazy or completely serious. He began to notice small things, how she never bowed her head, not even to escape pain. How she corrected his star charts in seconds, how she spoke languages no one had used in 100 years. One night, she stood on the ship's bridge, watching a nearby gas giant spin slowly below them. I was trained to speak before crowds of thousands, she said. Jace leaned against the wall. And now you're alone, on a junk ship, with a human nobody. She smiled slightly. Not a nobody. Just someone who doesn't know who he is yet. What does that mean? She looked at him. You think you saved me, but maybe I'm the one who saved you. Jace didn't like how mysterious she was, but something about her voice made him believe it. Just before bed, Jace reviewed the signal logs again. One stood out, an encoded frequency sent from his ship on the day she arrived. He hadn't noticed it before, but it was real. He ran a decrypt. One word showed up on the screen. Awaken. His heart skipped a beat. Who did you contact? He whispered. Meanwhile, the girl sat alone in her room. The lights were off. Her eyes were closed, but her voice spoke softly in her own tongue. The bloodline survives. The fire still burns. The crown is waiting. Suddenly, from far across space, something old and deadly responded. A machine, asleep for centuries, lit up. A red light blinked on, and deep in the stars, someone smiled. I'm not your enemy, he told her. Still, she said nothing. Later that night, while Jace ran ship diagnostics, he heard a soft beep. He rushed to the control panel. Someone had tried to send a signal from the back room. He opened the door. She was sitting near the wall panel, calm, quiet. Did you do that? He asked. She looked up slowly. Just testing if this ship could still reach the stars. Jace stepped closer. You tried to send a message? She stood up, chains still on her wrists. Not yet, but I will. To who? He asked. She looked at him with that same strange pride. Someone who will come looking for me. Jace didn't know whether to feel nervous or excited. Who are you really? He asked. The girl smiled for the first time. A small, cold smile. You'll find out soon enough. As the stars passed by outside the ship's window, Jace sat at the control chair, thinking, what had he just accepted into his life? She wasn't a normal slave. She wasn't even afraid. She acted like someone who had once given orders, not taken them. In the silence of space, the girl lay in her small room, staring at the metal ceiling. She whispered to herself in a language long forgotten by the galaxy. Her voice was steady, her eyes unblinking. I will return, she said, and they will regret ever thinking I was weak. Jace had seen many strange things across the galaxy, talking planets, invisible beasts, even a moon that cried when the sun set. But he had never seen a symbol glow on someone's skin. It started when the ship passed through a rare star field. Bright blue light flooded the cargo bay where the girl Sci-Fi slept. And then it happened. The mark on her back began to shine, a glowing crest, like fire under her skin. It pulsed slowly, as if it was alive. Jace stared from the doorway, frozen. He didn't want to wake her, didn't want to scare her, didn't want to admit that. Something wasn't right. Later, in the cockpit, Jace pulled up the ship's ancient galactic records. His fingers moved fast. He searched old emblems, royal banners, lost houses. The symbol matched only one name, the House of Varelian, a royal family that ruled half the galaxy, until they were hunted down and destroyed. He checked the date, over 90 years ago. All members were thought to be dead, but now, one of them was sleeping on his ship. Jace found her later, awake, calm, brushing her silver hair with her fingers. "You lied to me," he said. "I never lied," she replied. "You said you were nobody, but that mark? It belongs to a dead queen's family." Sayla looked at him, her voice quiet. "Not dead. Forgotten." Jace sat across from her. "You're a royal, aren't you? A real one." She didn't answer. Instead, she reached behind her neck and pressed 2 fingers into a hidden spot on her spine. The mark lit up again, clearer this time. A crest of flame surrounding a star-shaped crown. "It is my family seal," she said, "passed by blood. It cannot be faked." Jay shook his head. "Why would someone like you end up in chains, sold like garbage?" Sayla's eyes darkened. "Because I ran. From what?" She took a deep breath. "From an execution." She began to tell him the truth, just a small piece. Her name was Sayla Varelian Tar. Her mother had been queen of the Outer Ring worlds. Her father, a war general feared by many. When she was 15, her family was betrayed by their own guard. Poisoned. Shot. Burned. But she survived, hidden by loyal servants. Trained in secret, she grew up not to rule but to one day take everything back. And then, someone sold her out. Captured, silenced, branded. Until Jace, by accident, walked into her life. "You were never a slave," he whispered. "You were always a..." "What? A queen?" She looked away. "No, I'm just the last piece of something broken." "But why send a message from my ship? Who did you contact?" Sayla stared at him for a long time, then finally said, "Something old. Something that only obeys royal blood." Jace's stomach dropped. "You mean a weapon?" Sayla nodded. "It sleeps beneath a dead planet in the shadow zone. No one dares go there, but if it hears the blood voice, it wakes." Jace laughed nervously. "This just keeps getting better." He stood up and started pacing. "So let me get this straight," he said. "You're a hidden princess. You've called a deadly machine, and now I'm stuck in the middle." "You're not stuck," Sayla said. "You're chosen." Jace stopped. "What?" She stood too, face serious. "Everyone else would have walked away," she said. "You didn't. That matters. But I'm not special." She stepped closer. "You are to me." Suddenly, a loud warning beep echoed from the ship's dashboard. Jace rushed to the cockpit. A red light flashed on the screen. "Someone's tracking us," he muttered. "How?" Sayla's voice was calm. "Because the moment that mark glowed, my enemies knew I was still alive." Jace looked at the radar. 3 ships coming fast. No warning. No names, just hunters. Syla stepped beside him. It started. Jace reached for the controls. "I hope that ancient machine of yours wakes." "Up fast," he said. Sayla smirked. "It doesn't wake up. It rises." The stars outside the ship didn't blink, but the red dots on Jace's radar multiplied 3 enemy ships, fast and silent, flying like shadows through space. They didn't send a message. No warning. No demand. They were coming to kill. Jace leaned over the controls. "We're being hunted." Sayla stood behind him, her arms crossed. Her face was calm, but her voice was sharp. "They found me." Jace looked at her. "You? Sure these ships are after you?" She didn't blink. "They always are. The Rustwing wasn't built for battle. It was old, patched, slow, and the enemy ships were sleek, black, and quiet as death. Jace hit the emergency boosters. The ship groaned, shaking as it shot forward. Where do we go? He asked. Sayla didn't hesitate. To the graveyard of suns. Jace frowned. That's suicide. The old warp gates in that sector are unstable. Sayla stared into the star map. I memorized their paths as a child. My mother made me study them, if I was ever taken. That place was the way home. Jace cursed under his breath. You're insane. Sayla sat beside him, not insane, prepared. The enemy ships closed in. Lasers lit the dark. One shot burned. The left wing sparks flew inside the rust wing. We won't last long, Jace shouted. Sayla didn't panic. She opened a secret panel under the dashboard and typed in an old royal command code. Jace's eyes widened. What are you doing? Unlocking a gate only royal blood can activate, she said. No one else can follow us through it. Behind them, the lead enemy ship fired a tether beam. A glowing hook of light slammed into the Rustwing's hull and started pulling them back. Jace gritted his teeth. Sayla, almost there. She yelled. She placed her hand flat on the control panel. Her mark glowed. Suddenly, space ahead of them ripped open. An ancient warp gate blinked into existence, formed from silver rings orbiting a dead moon. Symbols on it pulsed in time with her glowing mark. The tether beam snapped. Jace punched the throttle. Hold on. They dove through the warp gate. Everything turned blue. Time bent. Sound vanished. Then the Rustwing reappeared near a burnt-out sun surrounded by broken planets and debris. The graveyard of suns. For a moment, there was peace. Jace let out a long breath. We lost them. Sayla leaned back. No, we delayed them. She looked out the window. Giant pieces of dead battleships floated silently in the void. This place, she whispered, was once the last stand of my mother's fleet. Landed on a hollow asteroid station, long abandoned. Sayla stepped out, silent. She walked through the dark corridors like she had lived there once. Jace followed, confused. What is this place? She stopped in front of a sealed door. Memory. She placed her glowing hand on the lock. The door hissed open. Inside was an old control room, dusty, cracked, but still alive. This was our listening post. One of many, she said. Buried in the graveyard so our enemies couldn't find it. She sat at the console and began sending. A signal. Jace watched her. Are you calling that machine? She nodded. The crown fire. Suddenly, her voice changed, strong, clear, royal. Bloodline Virelian speaks. Unit 9A, rise from silence, return to flame. The console answered in a deep, mechanical tone. Voice print accepted. Crown fire online, awaiting command. Jace stepped back. What is it? Sayla looked at him. A war engine. A weapon with a soul. My mother left it sleeping until the blood called it. Back on the radar, the enemy ships reappeared. They had traced the warp signature. They found. US again, Jace said. They must have a tracker on the ship. Sayla didn't even flinch. They won't live long enough to use it. She pressed one last command into the console. Far below the asteroid, deep in the hollow planet, something massive began to move. Jace felt the ground shake. From the surface, a tower of light shot into space. A giant machine 20 stories tall rose from the dust. Shaped like a burning crown, armed with ancient cannons and glowing veins of power. It roared. Jace realized he wasn't just flying with the lost princes. He was standing beside the last queen of war. The asteroid base had gone quiet again after the battle. The enemy ships were gone, burned, shattered. Nothing left but drifting metal. The crown fire had done its job, but something inside Jace felt wrong. Sayla stood by the control room window, bathed in starlight, whispering in her strange royal tongue. And in that moment, she didn't look like someone who needed saving. She looked like someone planning something bigger. Later, Jace checked the ship's log. One file had been changed. It was locked with a royal code, Sayla's code. His heart sank. She had used his ship's signal beacon again. But this time, it wasn't a call for help. It was a meeting request. Jace opened the decrypted message. Location secured. The human is unaware. Proceed as planned. His chest tightened. Was that about him? He found Sayla sitting alone in the Crownfire's shadow, eyes closed, hands resting on her knees like a queen in meditation. You used my ship again, Jace said. She didn't open her eyes. I had no choice. You said that last time. Now she looked at him. Do you think I'm your enemy? I don't know what to think anymore. Sayla stood slowly. Her voice was calm but firm. You think I tricked you? I think. You're not telling me everything, Jace said. And I think I deserve to know if I'm being used. She stared at him in silence, then turned away. He followed her to the war room. A massive map showed blinking red dots, military outposts, patrol routes, prison zones. Who are you meeting? Jace asked. Sayla zoomed in on one red dot near the planet edge. An old rebel cell. They once followed my family. Now they serve coin. You trust them? No. Then why call them? She looked at him. Because I need an army, Jace frowned. You didn't answer me. She finally faced him. Yes, Jace. I used your ship to reach them. I used your kindness. I used your freedom. Her voice cracked. Slightly, because I don't have any of my own. Silence. Jace didn't speak. Sayla walked past him, pausing only for a second. I never lied, she said. But I did not tell you everything. You wouldn't have helped me if I had. Maybe, Jace admitted. Or maybe I would have helped anyway. Sayla stopped. He stepped closer. But now you're asking me to stand beside you again, when I don't even know who you really are. That night, Sayla stood alone inside the Crownfire's command deck. The giant machine hummed like a sleeping beast, waiting for her word. Her reflection in the glass looked strong, but inside, she still felt alone. I am not my mother, she whispered. I don't want to rule with fear. The rebel ship arrived. The next day, it looked like a junker, rusted, patched, armed with old weapons. But Jace noticed something. It had military markings underneath the paint. Who are they really? He asked. Sayla replied. They used to wear my crest. Now they sell it to the highest bidder. The rebel leader stepped off the ramp. A thick-bodied alien with sharp eyes and a long scar across his lip. Princess, he said with a bow that wasn't respectful, it was mocking. Sayla didn't react. You brought what I asked for? 50 fighters, half trained, half loyal, the leader said. They'll fight if paid. They'll follow if scared. Jace stepped in. What happens if they turn on us? Sayla replied. Then I'll remind them who I am. Later, Jace sat alone near the rust-winged. His ship, his quiet life, felt so far away now. Sayla joined him. No guards, no throne, just herself. I didn't mean to drag you into war, she said softly. But you did. Yes. He looked at her. So what happens now? She looked at the stars. Now I stop running. And if you stay, you'll be standing beside someone who the galaxy wants dead. He paused, then asked the question he'd feared the most. Do you care about me? Sayla, or was I just useful? She turned to him, eyes glowing faintly. I care, she whispered. Too much, maybe. But far above them, hidden in a cloaked ship, someone watched their every move. A silent transmission was sent. The girl lives. The Crownfire is active. Prepare the destroyers. The real war was only just beginning. The stars above the palace were red dot, not from the sun, from the shields burning as Sayla's fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Behind her stood 50 rebel fighters. Beside her, Jace adjusted his worn chestplate, still unsure how this had become his life. Before them, the floating royal fortress of Val Torin, once her family's shining crown. Now it was dark, twisted, and crawling with enemies. Sayla stared at it through the viewscreen. I was 5 the last time I stood in its halls, she said softly. That day, my parents died in front of me. Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. Then let's finish what they started. The battle began before they even landed. Enemy fighters launched from hidden ports, guns blazing. The Crown Fire answered its massive cannons slicing through space like thunder. Sayla's voice echoed across the fleet channel. This is Sayla Vireliantar, daughter of flame, heir of stars. Follow me, or fall forgotten. The rebels cheered. Even Jace couldn't help but feel it. This wasn't a slave anymore. She was a queen reclaiming her world. They docked at the outer ring. Sayla led the charge through smoke and fire. Her movements were sharp, royal, practiced. Jace stayed close, blaster in hand. The halls were full of old paintings, burned. Statues shattered. Everything had been erased. This is what fear does, Sayla whispered. It tries to kill memory. Then, the enemy came. Elite guards in black armor, masks hiding their faces. Sayla didn't flinch. She moved like lightning dodging blasts, striking fast. Jace followed, covering her, keeping pace, one by one. The guards fell, but the deeper they went, the heavier the silence grew. They reached the throne chamber. Jace gasped. The room was massive gold pillars, a high glass ceiling showing the stars, and, at the end, a throne made of obsidian and bone. Sitting on it was a man in a dark cloak. Welcome home, Your Grace, he said mockingly. I kept your seat warm. Sayla stepped forward. General Keller, she said coldly. He removed his hood. His face was aged, but his eyes still sharp. You were once my father's friend. I was tired of being second, Keller growled. The galaxy needed a ruler who would act, not weep. Sayla raised her chin. You murdered my family. And you would have grown up soft like them, he hissed. I gave you a real future. He signaled and hidden doors opened. More guards poured in. Jace raised his weapon. We're surrounded. Sayla didn't move. Let them watch. She stepped closer to the throne. You sit on bones and lies, she said. But even now you fear me. Keller stood. I fear nothing. Then why call for backup? Suddenly, Sayla dropped to her knees. Jace panicked. Sayla. She wasn't surrendering. She was reaching for the floor. She pressed her glowing hand to a hidden symbol carved into the stone. It lit up. A deep hum shook the room. What have you done? Keller shouted. Sayla stood again. Calm. Powerful. I called the throne's true guardian. From beneath the palace, stone cracked. Walls trembled. A secret elevator rose from the floor. Inside it stood a massive armored being shining silver with blue flame. Inside its chest, the royal sentinel. Keller gasped. Sayla turned to him. Only answers to the royal line, and you are not it. The sentinel raised its weapon. Keller screamed. Kill them all. But the sentinel moved only when Sayla raised her hand. With one blast, half the enemy. Guards were thrown into the walls. The rebels stormed in, overwhelming the rest. Keller tried to run, but Jace caught him. Slammed him down. You followed her all the way here, Jace said, holding his blaster. Now face her. Sayla walked up slowly. She looked down at the man who ruined her life, and said just one thing. You never ruled. You only stole. Then, she turned away. Lock him in the palace dungeon, she ordered. Let him rot where he made others suffer. Hours later, the palace lights turned on for the first time in decades. Rebels cheered. Sayla stood before the throne, but didn't. Sit. I don't need this seat to lead, she said. I need only the people who still believe in something better. She turned to Jace. I told you I didn't want the crown, she said, but I'll wear it, if it means no one else suffers as I did. Outside, fireworks lit the sky, but high above the planet, in deep orbit, a black ship drifted silently. Inside, a voice spoke in the shadows. The girl has claimed the palace. Activate Phase 2. And so, even as Sela rose, a darker hand had already begun to move. The throne room was quiet now. The battle was over. The smoke had cleared. And Sela Varelian Tar stood where her mother once stood beneath the royal crest, facing the people of a broken world. But she didn't smile. She didn't raise her hands. In victory, because deep in her chest, one question still burned. Was this ever truly her destiny? Jace watched from the balcony. Heart-heavy. The crown rested on a velvet pillow beside Sela. The crowd waited for her to lift it, to wear it. To become queen. But she didn't move. Instead, she looked out across the chamber at rebels, soldiers, survivors, and finally, at Jace. Their eyes met. And in that one glance he could see the storm inside her. That morning, Sela had walked the halls alone. She touched the walls her father once walked through, touched the doorway where her mother died, touched the cracked floor where her childhood ended, and she had whispered, "Is this what you wanted for me?" But peace didn't last. The warning siren screamed again, just hours after the palace was reclaimed. A ship had entered orbit. No ID, no signal. Pure black. Sela's generals ran to her side. "It's a destroyer," they said. "Not Keller's, something older, something worse." The black ship didn't fire. It just watched. Sayla stood on the balcony, eyes on the sky. "It came for me," she said softly. Inside her private chamber, she told Jace the truth. "That ship is from the old galaxy. A forgotten empire. My bloodline was tied to theirs long ago." "They want to use you?" Jace asked. She nodded. "If I wear the crown, they'll come to claim me. As their queen, their tool, their key. And if you don't, they will destroy this world." Jace stepped closer. "Then don't wear it." Sela looked up at him. "But if I don't, these people may never follow me again." Jace's voice cracked. "They already do, not because of a crown, but because you fought for them, because you remembered them." She touched his hand. "I was never supposed to love," she whispered. "Royal blood was always chained to duty, but with you, I remembered I was human too." The day came. The entire palace gathered. Sela stepped forward, the crown in her hands. A hologram of the black ship filled the sky. A voice echoed through the clouds, "Wear it, and kneel. Become what you were born to be." Sela looked up at the stars, then looked down at the crown. She walked to the center of the throne room, raised the crown high. And she placed it on the floor. Gasps filled the hall. "I will not be your puppet," she said. "I will not be your queen. I will be their voice, their sword, their memory." She stepped back and crushed the crown under her heel. The crowd exploded in cheers. And in the sky, the black ship began to retreat. "She has broken the bond," the old voice said. "She is no longer theirs." Later, in the garden where her mother once walked, Sela found Jace sitting under a star tree. She sat beside him. "No throne," she said softly. "No golden robes, just a scarred girl and a tired man." Jace smiled. "Sounds perfect." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "They'll write songs about you." He joked. "Let them write songs about us," she whispered. "About how a forgotten girl and a stubborn human burned down an empire and built something better. Far away, in a quiet galaxy, the flame of the Varelian bloodline still burned, not through power, not through fear, but through choice. The choice to rise, the choice to resist, the choice to love."